Well, hello again. Today's the day that we actually are going to finish our book, How Do Bats See in the Dark? Questions and Answers About Night Creatures, written by Melvin and Gilda Berger and illustrated by Jim Effler. So today we will start off with learning about the possum. Remember, we're reading an expository text. The reason it's important to help our kids identify this type of story or this type of book is because when you're reading an expository text, it requires more thinking. It's a harder book to digest because it's full of facts and information, as opposed to a fiction or a narrative story. A narrative story contains characters and a problem and a solution, and that's basically the daily lives that we live, so we can relate to those a lot easier than our expository texts. So hopefully more exposure to these types of books where we're learning information helps our kids be better at reading these types of books and more interested in reading these types of books. So here we go. What night animal is like a big mouse with a pouch? The possum. Like mice, possums are nocturnal animals that have pointed noses and sharp teeth. But like a kangaroo, the female possum has a pouch on its abdomen for carrying its young. Female possums give birth to about 5 to 20 tiny babies at one time. Each is hairless, blind, and deaf at birth, and is about the size of a lima bean. An entire litter of 14, for example, weighs less than 1 ounce and can easily fit in a soup spoon. The newborns live in the pouch, nursing on their mother's milk. Do possums need babysitters? No. Even though the possum mother is out looking for food every night, her young travel with her. For the first 2 months or so, she carries them in her pouch. After that, they crawl out of her pouch and hitch rides on her back for several weeks more. By that time, the nearly full-size possums are ready to do their own nighttime food gathering. What do possums eat? Small mice, worms, insects, fruits, roots, and nuts. A particular favorite of small tree-dwelling possums is the fruit of the persimmon tree. When the persimmons are ripe, some possums spend the whole night in a tree, stuffing themselves with the fruit. Who are the possum's enemies? Owls, coyotes, foxes, dogs, and cats. When threatened, a possum lies on its side, unmoving, with eyes closed and tongue hanging out. Since it appears to be dead, predators leave the possum alone. Now you know the origin of the expression plain possum, which means pretending to be dead or injured when in danger. What night creatures hunt for food in garbage cans? Raccoons. Those that live in or near cities will eat almost anything. These masked bandits have the amazing ability to break into even the most securely locked trash bins with their long-fingered front paws. In the wild, raccoons prefer to search near water for frogs, crayfish, and turtles. Those far from water live on berries, nuts, corn, mice, and insects, things not usually found in garbage cans. Why do raccoons visit the same spots every night? It's easier than finding new places in the dark. When day breaks, raccoons usually return to the same place to sleep too. Country raccoons bed down among tree roots or in a hollow tree. If there are no trees, the raccoons sleep in nests they make in high grass. City raccoons make their homes near people's homes, in sheds, drain pipes, or in attics. Are raccoons endangered animals? Not at all. In fact, raccoons are growing in number because they can live almost anywhere and eat almost anything. Raccoons adapt well to different habitats, wilderness, farm, or city, and to different climates. from icy cold to tropical. The raccoon's long gray fur with black tips is camouflage that keeps them well hidden from their enemies. Yet, if attacked, these night creatures become strong, dangerous fighters. Here we go to some other nocturnal creatures. What night creatures are famous for their awful smell? Skunks. When frightened or under attack, a skunk sends out a horrible smelling spray from its rear end scent glands. The most familiar skunk has black fur with bright white stripes from its nose to the tip of its fluffy tail. Other skunks are a solid color or have spots. Skunks live only in North and South America. They hunt at night in wooded areas for insects, mice, eggs, fruit, and the rotting flesh of dead animals. What happens before a skunk sprays? It gives a warning. The skunk may stomp its feet on the ground and give a low hiss or growl. Then it raises its tail and arches its back. Finally, zap! The smelly, oily liquid shoots out from under the skunk's tail. How far can a skunk spray? Up to 12 feet. The smell chokes nearby animals and they flee. Even worse, the odor can last many days, as people who live in the country know only too well. As bad as the smell is, the spray itself is even worse. If it strikes an eye, the spray can cause burning and temporary blindness. Even one whiff can bring on a stomachache. Which skunk enemy doesn't mind the smell? Well, that would be the great horned owl. While hunting at night, the owl does not seem to be bothered by a skunk spray. Down it swoops to grab the skunk, no matter how strong the odor. Either the horned owl doesn't have much sense of smell, or it just holds its breath. Here's a night creature that hopefully you don't run into, but they do live in the desert. Are spiders night creatures? Some are. Among them are many hunting spiders that chase insects or lie in wait for them instead of catching them in webs. All day long, these hunting spiders hide in nests they build out of the silk they spin from special glands in their body. When night falls, they leave their nests to search for food. Even though they have 8 very small eyes, many of these spiders are nearly blind. To find a victim, they almost have to bump into it. Do any night spiders live in your house? Perhaps. The black and white parson spider and the grayish mouse spider spend their days in the dark corners of houses or other buildings. At night, they come out to find food. Some evening, you might enter a dark room, turn on the light, and see one of these spiders freeze for a second and then scurry away. Do spiders have any night relatives? Yes, scorpions. Many scorpions live in hot lands and avoid daytime activity in the broiling sun. These creatures only venture out at night when it's much cooler. In the darkness, scorpions find the spiders and insects they eat mostly by touch. The scorpion stings its prey with a curved stinger at the end of its tail. One shot of the stinger's poison paralyzes the victim and lets the scorpion enjoy its meal in peace. But even scorpions are not safe from attack. A fight between a camel spider and a scorpion can end badly for the scorpion. The camel spider prances and sways like a boxer to avoid the scorpion's sting. Then it leaps in and holds onto the scorpion's tail until the spider can bite off the stinger. It's amazing all the different characteristics that animals have to take care of themselves, right? And to continue surviving. Do snakes hunt by sight and sound? No. Many snakes have very poor eyesight and hearing. Their eyes are best for noticing things that move, not for seeing details. Except for objects close to them, everything looks blurry to a snake. And snakes have no ear holes. They pick up sound vibrations from the ground. How do snakes find their prey in the dark? Partly by body heat. Many snakes, such as the rattlesnake, have heat-sensitive organs located in deep hollows or pits between their nose and eyes. The pits allow these kinds of snakes to detect anything that is even a little warmer than the air. The sidewinder snake is also well equipped with acute heat sensors. Scientists believe that a sidewinder can follow mice and lizards, sometimes right into their burrows, just by sensing the heat of their bodies. Why does a snake flick out its tongue? To pick up smells and taste particles in the air. A snake learns at most about its surroundings with its tongue. A snake's tongue helps it track and catch the animal it eats. Do snakes bite with their tongue? No. Snakes bite with special teeth called fangs. Poisonous snakes produce a poison in glands near their mouth, and tubes carry the poison from the glands to their fangs. So you might want to beware of any poisonous snakes. We do have some in our desert. We'll have to look closely to see these night creatures. Yes, these are slugs and worms nocturnal creatures. Yes, these soft-bodied animals need to keep their bodies moist, which means they must stay out of the sun. When night falls, they creep out of their hiding places to search for food. Sometimes with a flashlight, you can find them in the garden on a warm, damp night. If you're very quiet, you may even hear their faint rustling in dead leaves. Which night insect has been around the longest? Well, you probably guessed it. It's the cockroach. Fossils of cockroaches date back about 250 million years to the time of the dinosaurs. The common cockroach makes its home in food markets, bakeries, restaurants, and people's homes. It belongs to a large family of cockroaches that avoids light and is most active in the dark. Only about half an inch long and is dull tan in color. The common cockroach is not a fussy eater. Food scraps, paper, plants, clothing, dead insects, just about anything else can make a meal for a cockroach. I think that's why it's lived so long. Which are the noisiest night creatures? Tree crickets. Huge numbers gather on trees after dark on warm nights. They produce their loud chirping by rubbing one wing against the other at a rate of about 40 times a second. Male crickets chirp most. Experts believe it is how they find their mates. Crickets hear with two small spots, or ears, just under the knees of their front legs. How would you like to have your ears on your knees? Not me. A cricket's chirp changes as the air temperature changes. The higher the temperature, the faster the chirps. On a summer night, count the number of chirps you hear in 15 seconds. Add 40 to that number. The sum will give you the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. Well, that would be an interesting experiment to do. In water. Are frogs night creatures? Mostly. Even though you can see them during the day, frogs must stay out of the sun, which dries their skin. Like other amphibians, frogs live in water and on land and breathe with their lungs, but they also take in oxygen through their skin, thin skin. If their skin is not moist, they can't breathe and they suffocate. Are all frogs noisy at night? No, just the males. Both male and female frogs have vocal cords in their throats, just as we do. But in most species, only the males produce the sounds. They do this by pumping air over their vocal cords. To make the sounds louder, the frogs puff up their throats like balloons. They use these calls to attract females. On summer nights, you can hear a bullfrog's blooming juggerums and barums from up to 1 mile away. Where are frogs during the day? Some are hiding. These frogs keep cool and damp under rotting tree stumps, piles of leaves, mounds of mud, and around wells, docks, or bridges. Many tree frogs live in tropical rainforests. They hide during the daylight hours by hanging on to the underside of large tree leaves. Do frogs ever hide at night? Yes, when the moon is shining brightly. Frogs keep out of sight so their enemies, snakes, raccoons, and skunks, cannot spot them. Can frogs see well at night? Yes, especially anything that moves. Good eyesight helps frogs capture food and avoid enemies. Frogs' eyes bulge out of their heads. Each eye is like a tiny periscope on a submarine. The bulging eyes let frogs see in all directions, except directly under their noses. In one experiment, scientists placed food right underneath the frog's head. The frog smelled the food but had to back away to see it. How do most frogs hunt? They sit and wait. As soon as a frog sees a moving bug, fish, or small animal, the frog flips out its sticky tongue, snap. In a flash, it snags the prey. A frog will catch and eat almost anything within reach, as long as it is living. Put a hungry frog near a pile of dead, unmoving flies, and the frog would sooner starve than eat them. When there is no food above ground, frogs band together and stir up the mud at the bottom of their pond. This helps them find any tiny creature that might be hiding there. Really desperate frogs will eat anything, anytime, even one another. Ugh. How do frogs swallow their food? Listen up, this is quite interesting. With their eyes. After a frog catches a fly or other prey in its mouth, it blinks. This presses the eyeball down against the roof of the mouth. The roof bends and pushes the food down into the frog's stomach, all in the blink of an eye. What happens when a frog eats something poisonous? This is also pretty cool, pretty interesting. It throws up its entire stomach. The stomach hangs out the side of its mouth. Then, using its front legs as wipers, the frog brushes the stomach clean and swallows it back into its body. I'm glad we can't throw up our stomach. That's kind of gross. Where do beavers live? In rivers, streams, and lakes. Beavers are active day and night, but they're busiest after dark. That's when they collect the twigs, leaves, bark, and roots that they eat. It also is when beavers use their teeth and front paws to cut down trees and build their houses and dams. Beavers make their houses, called lodges, of logs, branches, and rocks that they hold together with mud. The lodges look like small islands poking up above the water. Can beavers breathe underwater? No. They can hold their breath no longer than about 15 minutes. After that, they must either swim to the surface to take a breath or duck into their lodge, which is filled with air. Are beavers good swimmers? Yes, excellent swimmers. Beavers paddle through the water using their webbed feet as flippers. Scientists have clocked them at speeds of about 5 miles an hour. When they swim, beavers steer with their stiff, flat tails. They can also use their tails as an extra paddle when they want to put on a burst of speed. How does a beaver carry a log through water without choking? It can shut its throat, even when its mouth is open. In this way, the beaver carries logs and branches through the water without swallowing a drop. Wow, creatures are just amazing, amazing. How do crocodiles spend the day? Relaxing. Crocodiles usually spend mornings basking in the warm sunlight of the tropical areas where they live. At midday, when it gets very hot, they seek out a cool, shady spot and rest there for a while. After that, it's back to loafing in the sunshine until the sun sets. What do crocodiles do after dark? They look for food. Some stay in shallow ponds or slow-flowing rivers and wait for prey that come to the water for a drink. Others hide in marshes and swamps, ready to attack any animal that wanders by. A crocodile can gulp down a small animal, such as a turtle, without chewing. But when it catches a big animal, such as a pig, The crocodile rips out hunks of flesh by snapping its jaws shut and flinging its head from side to side. Are alligators the same as crocodiles? Not exactly. Alligators have rounded snouts. Crocodile snouts are more pointy. Alligators are slower moving than crocodiles. Also, the alligator's lower fourth tooth is hidden inside its jaw. The crocodile's lower fourth tooth is on the outside of its jaw. So here we can see that that would be a crocodile. As you can see, its tooth, and it's also got a pointy snout. Are turtles night creatures? No, but one kind, the sea turtle, lay their eggs only at night, and for a very good reason. Eggs laid in damp darkness do not dry out as much as eggs laid in the heat of day. When ready to lay eggs, the large, heavy female sea turtles crawl out of the water. They waddle up on the beach beyond the high tide mark. With their back flippers, they dig a pit into which they lay 50 to 100 eggs. Finally, they brush back the sand to completely cover the hole. It's usually dawn before they're done and ready to head back to sea. When do sea turtle eggs hatch? Any time of the day or night. But once they hatch, the baby turtles stay hidden in the sand. They wait until it grows dark and the temperature drops. Only then do the baby turtles climb out of their hiding places and crawl as fast as they can to the water. By waiting until dark, the baby turtles avoid the sun and escape gulls and other daytime predators along the shore. Which night feeders catch baby sea turtles? Ghost crabs. All day long, these crabs hide under the seaweed stones or in burrows in the sand, but after sunset, they crawl out to look for food. The ghost crab's eyes are at the end of its two long stalks, which it waves around to spot danger. If a crab sees anything menacing, it scurries back into its burrow. Otherwise, it runs sideways along the sand, picking through seaweed and feeding on sand fleas, dead fish, and, of course, newly hatched sea turtles. Oh, well, everybody's got to eat, I suppose. Which shark, and even though there's no pictures of sharks on this page, just imagine it. Which shark feeds mostly at night? The hammerhead. Some scientists have traced the daily activities of a group of hammerheads. By day, the sharks swim in circles around underwater mountains called seamounts. At dusk, the sharks head for their feeding ground, a distance of about 10 to 15 miles. All night long, these sharks gulp down tremendous numbers of squid and different kinds of fish. At dawn, the hammerheads make their way back to the seamounts. Strangely enough, they follow the exact same route going and coming. What other fish feed mostly at night? Big, fast-swimming fish, such as tuna, swordfish, and marlin. At night, they come up from the deep water to feed on shrimp and smaller fish that live near the surface. The large fish streak through the upper waters, filling their stomachs with the tasty morsels. Then at dawn, they descend to the lower depths where they stay until it gets dark again. Sometimes the commute from deep water to the surface is hundreds of yards long. What kinds of animals are night creatures? Oh, every kind you can think of. Mammals, insects, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and fish. Each has a very good reason to prefer the darkness of night over the light of day. So we have now finished our expository text. So you see it was full of information, different activities you can do with your children. You can have them write facts, just write down facts that they learned about the different creatures. They can compare and contrast. How are some of these creatures alike? Maybe you can see what kind of creatures eat the same type of food. That would be an activity you could do. Look and see what they eat and how they compare to each other. The other thing you might want to do is have them write, depending on the age of your child, if they're already writing, they can write sentences, complete sentences, maybe 5 sentences, 10 sentences, or a couple sentences every day on facts that they learned, and have them use a complete sentence, capitalization, punctuation. You help them with their spelling. You never want to stop that thought process to spell a word correctly. Let them write the whole sentence and acknowledge that they did a great job. And then you might look at the word that they misspelled and first identify all the letters that they got right. They spelled everything right, they just forgot one letter. And then you can show them, look, you had it almost perfectly. That's great. Now just add this E here and you spelled it correctly. So focus on all the positive things that they've done. You can have them write an essay either on 3 of the animals or just one animal, so they can write everything they learned, or they can just synthesize and write an essay on why night creatures are awake at night, that it's a way that they protect themselves from their predators, that's when their food is out, so that's when they need to be out. So there's a lot of different things you can do. I'm sure you can think of some. And as always, have your kids give you input. What would they like to do with the information that they learned? Do they want to draw a picture? Do they want to create a skit? Do they want to act out being one of those creatures of the night? Anyway, I hope that you found this sharing time informative. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to sharing some other books with you. The next one is a special one, dear to my heart, and you'll find out more about that later. Thank you. Have a great day.